Steve, I guess you've had that long ride home to reflect on what went wrong. So, what did go wrong, do you think?
I've definitely had a long drive home. Gravesend to Eastbourne via Tunbridge Wells is a nice way to finish the evening. What went wrong? I personally think the first half was very tightly contested game. Thought it was very competitive. Both sides, high tempo. Maybe lacking in quality at times, but actually for blood, guts, and thunder, it felt like quite an entertaining watch.
It was, and if anything, I think we actually, even though we were only 1-0 down, we probably edged that game because the game plan worked.
I felt there wasn't many clear chances, but I think in terms of the fact their keepers had to come out twice and be brave, got himself hurt a couple of times in the process, and I think we definitely had at least one other opportunity. I think the flag went up when Trev had his best chance, although the linesman later said it wasn't offside. Doesn't matter, it didn't go in anyway. But yeah, I personally felt at half time 1-0 was flattering for them, but it was a very tight game. Obviously they've had the man sent off just before half time, which may or may not in our, it should give us an advantage, let's be honest. And we were actually kind of preaching that if we're patient and if we keep trying to do the right things, we genuinely had hope and belief that we could get something from the game.
Yeah, because like you say, they didn't really threaten us throughout the game, other than the goals and a couple of chances. It sounds really silly, but we were quite defensively solid, really. Which we got the game. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure I've said this before, and it's stating the obvious, but football is literally decided in moments. Let's be honest. It's not like Punjab were putting us under wave after wave of pressure. I don't think any side has put us under wave after wave of pressure, but unfortunately for us, whether that's through individual error, lack of team cohesion, bit of misfortune, individual errors, unfortunately end up with you conceding goals. And I think last night, the second goal, the frustrating thing about it was we'd kind of been patient. I think first 15 minutes of the second half, we were having an awful lot more of the ball than them, which you'd expect. They've kind of gone into, let's try and protect our 1-0 mentality, and we were having to kind of try and find different ways to pick a lock. Wolves has managed to do it, so I kind of felt almost from a psychological point of view, the pendulum's then swung in our favour, and if anything, I'm kind of expecting us to carry on in that vein, which maybe is a bit naive in hindsight. And then 6 minutes later, they get a breakaway and score. And as I said, that's like a double negative really. Not only does it knock our momentum, but now they've got a massive cause and a massive boost and a massive spring in their step.
Because we before the goal, yes, we were a bit agricultural, but it was effective.
Wow.
And they were getting deeper and deeper. We just couldn't do anything with it. Maybe it's because we're putting so many balls in, and to be fair, in their defence, we're managing to handle most of those balls in.
Yeah.
But it looked like there was one team was going to win it, and then the bubble burst, and it just feels like as soon as the team perceives they're under pressure, they don't stick to your game plan, which is, obviously keep the ball, be direct when we have to. It's forgetting to hold the ball and they just go direct. There was like quite a lot, often 6 balls, not picking anybody up, but 6 balls straight in from keeper to keeper. Balls out, hit it long, and not solving it. It doesn't seem like
Is
is it confidence? I don't know. What is it?
Is it confidence? Point just there's a lot in that question. First and foremost, I personally believe Punjab are a very solid defensive unit. They kept 4 clean sheets in a row prior to playing us, including Erith and Belvedere, who they knocked out the Kent Senior Cup, and also Fisher, who at the time were top of the league. So let's not think that we're playing a side that are conceding a lot of goals or not used to winning, because they are. There's 4 wins back to back for them. In fact, five now. That said, having the man advantage, maybe we've got to be a bit cleverer. Maybe we've got to find a way of exploiting that a bit more. You know, I don't think it's any real secret, so I can say it on camera. We are quite a direct side. You know, we do try and get in behind early and often. Perhaps as we kind of evolve as a team and we start to learn our lessons and we start to get a bit more time together, we need to work on what to do when that's not going to work for us. And maybe particularly they were brave, they lost a man and they continued to play like a 4-2-3. So, you know, outside the heat of the battle, when you can actually sit and reflect on things, that probably meant there was space in midfield, which we should have probably used a little bit better. But I don't think it was a want to try. And you're right, we did go long a lot, and I'm sure some of the fans are probably groaning. But the one thing that I would also say as a flip to that, be careful what you wish for, because it's actually brilliant at times to have a goalkeeper like Glover who can kick it as far. Because how many times in the last just 2 seasons that I've been here have we had keepers stuffing their kicks and putting us in all sorts of bother? So it's difficult. I felt Siggy and Jim had quite a lot of the ball short as well. I can clearly remember Bill dropping in 2 or 3 times to pick the ball up. Maybe 2 or 3 times isn't enough. Maybe he should have done it 10 or 12 times. As we started to chase the game, bringing Frank and then later stages JP on was an attempt at trying to get a little bit more control of that.
Could you maybe change the form setup we were playing again actually?
Yeah.
With them down 10 men, does that give us more opportunity to go forward more? I don't know.
I think it wasn't so much about them going down to 10 men, because we started the second half in exactly the same tactical formation and emphasis as we finished the first. And I would suggest, on the basis for 15 minutes, we chipped away and got our goal.
It worked.
It worked. Once they then score, and then again, so once it's 1-1, well, you know, why would you change it? We're in the ascendancy. Once they score, well, now the tables are turned. Now we're chasing a game, and we've only got about 20 minutes to do it. So at that point, we sacrificed the holding midfielder. Obviously, Ward had come off. And we've put on Frank, who in theory is a little bit more of a attacking midfielder, a ball playing midfielder. So we swing it from 2 holding midfielders to 1, and we ask Frank and Bill to play, and that's obviously to try and get us on the ball a little bit more. How successful were we at that? It'd be nice to get a copy of the video from our opponents if they're willing to give it us, so that I can review that. I thought, I you know, as I talk to you, my mind kind of flashes back, and I can remember Frank getting on the ball and driving out a few times. I can remember Bill dropping in a few times, but then someone else will probably just remember boom, boom, boom. So I think the truth's probably somewhere in between the two.
Yeah, because I think I said to you before, it's like last season we could have been accused of playing too much football. And when your game plan goes right, we've probably got the mix right of football, on ball, right, exactly right. The problem seems to be, as soon as you think the pressure, you move from your game plan and forget keep playing football and then go along to just go along. And it's like, what do you think's in their heads that's causing that? Because your game plan works when they stick to it.
I mean, the problem with a game plan is nothing's ever totally controllable, because you can't factor in anything the opposition's going to do, and you can't factor in individual error, which unfortunately is always a factor in every football match.
We lost for arguably individual errors or mistakes, one better word. That, again, like you said, we gave them the goals almost.
I mean,
they're finished them, but
they're preventable, aren't they?
Yeah, they're preventable.
Yeah.
It's like I say, I wish I'd see somebody absolutely rip us apart and score a worldie.
Well,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't particularly relish that occasion, but I guess if you can just hold your hands up and say there's nothing we can do about that, then you can kind of move on from it.
Well, look at that, you had Siggy playing, one of the guys saying, what a revelation he was. And then again, you've got Rory playing fullback, did a great job.
Yeah.
Harry did a good job again. He was one of the second game where he's been one of the best players.
Yeah.
Jim being Jim, just was Mr. Calm, collected. It wasn't defensive, wasn't the problem.
No.
It was how we go forward.
It was, but again, in that kind of summary there, You just name checked Sidgy and Jim, who I thought had a lot of the ball,
Yeah.
and I actually used it as well as could be expected, really, from centre half's point of view. Rory, I thought, particularly as the game grew on, started to actually get involved and get a little bit higher, and also come inside, dribbling the ball. So, look, it's just fine margins. As soon as we went 2-1 down, it felt like we were literally an uphill battle.
The bubble burst.
And we just didn't quite have that creativity to open them up. Give them a little bit of credit, Will. I mean, people probably don't want to hear it, but they've kept 4 clean sheets in a row before tonight. That if we could keep 2 clean sheets in a row, I'd be doing cartwheels down the A26. It's a progression of where they're at. You know, that's a squad that's been built upon and solidified for 3-4 years. You know, and
Yeah, I can understand that, but at the same time, though, it wasn't like they were a better team.
No.
I mean, they weren't pulling us apart at all. They had 2 goals and a couple of shots, and that was it. Because you know they weren't that great, shall we say? Yes, they're a good team of them, but we didn't let them look really good. The problem is we didn't let ourselves at times look good.
maybe.
You know, it was like we beat ourselves almost. Now, I know they're going to disagree, but it was almost like we beat ourselves rather than they beat us.
I mean, both their finishes are quite good finishes.
Yeah.
Give them their dues there. Other than that, Gloves has made one very good block where he's come out 1v1. Their keeper had to do that twice in the first half. So honestly, I hear exactly what you're saying. I would probably slightly rephrase it, because I suppose there's going to be a bit of self-preservation and looking at, I would kind of rephrase it. It was a very tight game of fine margins, and unfortunately it just hasn't quite gone for us. They're 4th in the league, we're away from home, it's a Tuesday night, I've got 4 players changed from Saturday. I would have loved to took a point away from there, if I'm brutally honest, because we're just not quite at that stage where I think anyone really believes we're going to go win, which we're just not quite there. I'd love to be there. We've got Whitstable and Fisher coming next, so
They're going to be real tough.
do you know what I mean? Like, if people,
Well, that's it. Because the first 20 minutes or so, at least, you thought, well, we've got this, and almost we were definitely much better than them. And we've got this. We can win this.
yeah,
And then, like I said, we started before the game saying, if we get a draw, this is really damn good. They're doing well.
yeah,
And then you go to a game like that and thinking, hang on, we could actually beat this though.
yeah.
We could get the points here. And it's not until we help them that you suddenly realise they got the points.
Yeah, disappointing, horrendously disappointing, and I think the only real trend that I can see is that we are competitive in every game. What we don't really seem to do is be too clinical against the sides we probably should beat comfortably, and then on occasions when we go toe to toe with some of the better sides, we just seem to come marginally on the wrong end of the results. So
we concede quite a few, but if you look at our defence, it's probably, I'd say, the strongest we've had for a long time in terms of the quality of players playing there.
I would love to agree with you, because it's a squad that I'm in the process of putting together, but the facts have to speak for themselves. Only 4 teams have let in more goals than us, but only 5 teams have scored more than us. So
that's the point I'm saying, that we can score goals, and we should be able to, with the quality we've got, we shouldn't be conceding goals really.
Yeah.
On paper, that's strong defence. Yeah, why are we conceding? All the time it's mistakes, individual errors, and that are all crossing the box, but that's another thing.
I look at every single goal that we concede, and it sounds really sad. I even log it on a spreadsheet, and I look at what side it comes in from. I look at whether it's a dead ball or open play. I look at who is kind of key culpable and then secondary culpable. I don't know, I'm probably wasting my bloody time, to be honest. But just to see if there's
I'd love to do that.
You're more than happy to have the job. Just to kind of see, is there a trend here?
Yeah.
Is there a pattern to why we keep letting in more goals than any of us would like? And the honest answer at this moment in time, there isn't really a trend. It's not that one person is continually making a mistake. It's not that one particular sort of thing does us in. I wish it was that easy. I wish it was. Every time the ball comes in from the left, they get across your first centre half and score. If that was it, well, I'll fix that problem then.
Yeah.
But like, look at last night. The first one's a throw-in, the second one's a counter-attack. I mean, counter-attacks is something I think we need to be better with, 100%. I had noticed that we seem to be a little bit too open from our own corners. That was one trend that we did pick out. So what I did in the last 2 games is I've got Luke Leppard to sit on the edge rather than be one of the 4 attacking the ball. And we haven't let him. I don't count my chickens before they hatch, but that seems to have made us a little bit more solid in that. So if I can see a trend, or if the coaching staff can see a trend, we'll try and deal with it. We know we're not brilliant from throw-ins. We're not brilliant from our own throw-ins. We give the ball away too much. We know that, but blimey, I get 1 session a week every 2 weeks if we're playing midweek. You can't build Rome in a day, can you?
No, because it's like you say, it's not like we're being ripped apart continuously and they're scoring worldies.
No way. No.
It's just individual errors.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know how do you coach that out with them?
Yeah.
I mean,
you asking me the same. We're basically asking ourselves the same question.
But don't get me wrong, because I still think there's this issue. We have this issue of the players think they're under pressure, they sit back, they stop playing. So that's the problem. I don't know how you get that out of their heads, but that's what contributes more to it than.
It's funny though, because I hear what you're saying, and I still would say, and it's on me, that plan A is to try and get him behind early. So some people take that very literally, and maybe they're falling, but I can clearly remember, and I can clearly remember Bill, Frank getting on the ball in that kind of, well, definitely in the midfield area. I can remember Luke getting on the ball a few times. The final ball might not have been there, even in the first half. I can remember Luke getting on the ball, driving. The final pass wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
I can remember second half Regan coming inside a little bit. He'd come inside looking for the ball a little bit. So Rory, I definitely can remember last 10 minutes Rory coming in off the left. So it's not like all we ever do is bang it. Maybe that's the majority of the time. But as we start to understand each other and as we start to grow as a team, hopefully we can work on that.
Because you mentioned there, what was noticeable, especially I think it was the first half we did a lot more, where we would bang a really firm, solid pass right into the player in midfield, and it was that player had then time to turn and set it up properly.
Yeah.
And that was so effective whenever we did that. And we did it a bit in the second half, like I said, but nowhere near as much.
If
we can stick to that and keep doing those sort of things, rather than just lumping it and hoping that Regan might get in the India or first loss. Because when you've got teams like them who were very effective of handling the ball in,
yeah, they've done well.
Yeah,
they did do well. And we would always rather try and get the ball either into the forwards to set us back, so we're now on the front foot with the midfield, or centre halves to the midfield. We're not literally we're not playing Wimbledon, but we're step 5 footballers. We've lost 2-1 away from home to a very resilient side, and unfortunately we haven't been outplayed, we haven't been outpowered. We've just had a moment which is not the stuffing out of us, and despite making 4 attacking substitutions, which I can't really do a lot more than, we just haven't been able to pick the lock on that occasion. It's disappointing. Once someone said to me once, and maybe this is a lesson to learn, if you're not going to win, make sure you don't lose.
Yeah.
And maybe the mistake was not just saying, okay, we're back in the game now, it's 1-1, let's just calm down, let's just simplify it, let's make sure we don't let them have any encouragement, rather than going, let's go and get another one, and then we get caught in a counter-attack. Maybe that's the naivety.
You could I'd argue that actually it was agricultural and not great to look at, but the start of that second half, and when we got a goal and further on, at times you had like 5 guys lining up to get that ball.
Yeah.
And attack them, and they were sitting deeper and deeper and were struggling.
Yeah.
And it's just they did their damnedest, managed to clear each ball that came in. And you're thinking that was working. That's why we got a goal,
and that's why they keep doing it, because if there's a level of success, we'll do it in any walk of life, don't we? You got to be very brave to go, let's try something completely different. I mean, we probably, the truth of the matter is we are not the finished article, and we definitely need to have a better understanding, I do, and all the teams, so that I can then give the team better understandings of, look, today, if this ain't working, we'll do this, or this will be the evolution of that. But blimey, we're nine games in.
But it's just like I said though, the first 20 minutes or so of that half, in most of the other games we've played, if we keep it on the floor and transition quickly like we do, we are the most effective at doing that. And we do it really well.
Yeah.
It's as soon as they stop doing that. So I'd argue actually we've got quality of players and they can do it. It's getting them to keep doing it, the whole game. I'm not just sitting like you said, thinking, oh, well that works, so let's go direct again.
So you're talking about being consistent, which seems to be the running thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, but being consistent and being brave, and also everybody accepting that it isn't going to be perfect all the time, and it isn't for want of effort.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing that I would say, like, you know, for those people that didn't travel, I can only say, like, the boys have took quite a physical battering at times. It was a physical game of football.
It wasn't off.
And I've been involved, unfortunately, with a couple of performances last season where I would say the level of effort and desire was probably not acceptable. I don't really think you can level that at the boys. Maybe a lack of finesse, maybe a lack of creativity, but I don't think a lack of effort or desire is something that I would personally be willing to accept.
Yeah, it's because like nobody played badly. Let's be upfront. It was a poor performance at times, and nobody played badly. They didn't get a team over. The point is, if you look at that team, it was like individually people played well. As a team, they didn't. If that makes sense.
It doesn't. I mean, I think our inability to find a way of opening them up, combined with allowing them back in the game at these, you know, within 5-6 minutes of us really starting to put them to the sword, is why we've come away from there with no points. And I don't know, Will, you'll have to be honest and tell me, if we'd come away from there 1-1, would we be talking about how long we went, or would you actually be going, that's a good point away from home? You was a bit basic at times, but fair play to you.
I think, yeah, that's exactly what we'd have said. We said, before the game, if we get a draw here, this is great. And if we had come away, we'd have said, no, exactly that.
So we're hinging all of our analysis on the one moment, 6 minutes after we scored. And goals change games, and they change results, and we've come with nothing. But
yeah, I think it's just gone so long, you limit the opportunity then to get goals, because we didn't threaten them. You know, we didn't threaten them as much either. And
no one really threatened anyone, did they? But then, what do you like? I know where I want to get to, but I'm realistic enough to know how far we've gone and where we're at. And you have a look at the league table. What do realistic people expect us to do away at Punjab on a Tuesday night with 4 players missing? I mean, you tell me, what is a realistic expectation based on the last 3?
A draw is great, and you know
we lost 4-3 here last year. It was freaking 3-1 up at half time. What's worse? What's more disappointing?
But it's like if these, I think just people get frustrated just because.
I do, trust me.
You know, it's that we're sure we can do it. We're sure we can set you a game plan that works. Just bloody well stick to it, guys.
If we were terrible, it'd almost be easier to take, because you turn up there expecting to lose. I think it's the hope that kills you sometimes, but I have to be encouraged by the hope, and I have to be encouraged by the fact that I certainly don't think we're outplayed by the team that are 4th in the division. I don't think we're outplayed by the team that are currently top of the division. I don't think anyone, with the exception of Beerster, where we were atrocious, and even then nearly got out of there with the point. Well, I don't think anyone has made us look bad. We haven't been able to stamp ourselves on games as much, but we're the 5th top scorers in the league. So for all this talk about plan, it ain't that bad.
When was the last time we had 2 guys in the top 6? I think it is, goal scorers.
Yeah, people might look at. I did hear somebody kind of questioned Bill and Trev's contribution last night, and I think to myself, be careful what you wish for, because I'm looking at the Punjab. I thought the Punjab centre forward was a handful last night. To be honest, he was a handful.
Yeah,
he was
he managed
effective
to,
at what he
though.
did. He scored 2 goals this season. Trev scored 6. I thought their number 10 was a good player. He was a good player. He scored 1 goal this season.
Yeah.
Bill scored 7. So careful what you wish for. They unfortunately, it's probably the first time all season neither of them's been able to score in a game. First
I
time.
think
That's
you're
a guess. You might. Take
I think you might be right.
So, do you know, and how many times based on the last, most times they will score, one of them will score. Last night wasn't their night. We move on.
So what do you do again? What do you change, or how do you get into guys' heads to change them to be ready for Whitstable? Because played the way we did the first 20 minutes, we give Whitstable a great game. Played the way we then did later on, Whitstable are going to romp it, sort of thing.
Are they?
And what? No.
Is that the Whitstable that lost to Lingfield in
Exactly.
the Vars
Yeah,
on Saturday,
true.
or is that the Whitstable that beat Hayward's 5-0? You
No,
tell me.
but what I'm saying is we're capable of beating them.
Yeah.
And
And
we're capable of letting them beat us.
Or,
Do you know what I mean?
Or we got to give them some credit and say they might turn up and Marcel
Yeah.
might play to his absolute potential like he did when he smashed
I
Hayward's.
think the point I'm making is how do you get this performance out of their heads where they've been under pressure and lost and ready for Whitstable?
I've kind of said to you on camera before, like never too high, never too low. I don't think you can let the taste of defeat linger in your mouth. It would be nice if we had a training session. It'd be nice if I had a video to analyse and show. I haven't got either of those two things. So in all truth, all we can do is put it behind us. We will talk about it. We'll debrief on it. But I actually think we know what the problem is. We've just spent 20 minutes, effectively you're talking about 2 moments in 96. Now, I can't, it felt a little bit to me, and maybe it's because you carry the responsibility quite personally, but it felt to me like it was probably the first time I felt a little bit of discontent within us as a group. And then extendedly, I felt like some of the supporters were a bit down, and I get it, but I would just say like it's really important that everyone just kind of goes again and remains positive, because we're really early into what will hopefully be quite a long journey, and it is fine margins.
Yeah. You've got to put it into context. All that Punjab are spending, not huge amounts, but they're spending quite a bit of money for them. And there's 6 or 7 teams spending loads of money. So we've got to be realistic where we are, and we can be competitive. So that's showing us something.
Well, there you go. That would be my fault. It's the manner of the defeat, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think one of my coaching staff said, if anyone who wasn't there and didn't know anything about us, like let's say the guy that does the skiffle, well, he had us down as losing 3-1, so we've actually done better than he thought. It isn't a big shock on paper that Tunbridge. I hate to say this, and if people want to lynch me for it, it's not a big shock on paper that Tunbridge Wells, where we are right now, lost 2-1 away to Punjab.
Yeah.
It's just very frustrating if you was there and you saw it and you witnessed it and you thought, do you know what, they really have thrown a point away there.
Yeah, it did feel like that. It did feel like that.
Yeah, but what do? Do we go and find someone and nail them to the cross, or do we just say it's fine margins? On another day, we can pretty much rely on Trev, Bill, Regan, Fez, someone to pop up and get us a goal.
Well, the way where our consistency works, this Saturday we're going to win about 3-0 and have a blinder.
Well,
that's how we're playing at the moment.
It is. It's very unpredictable and it's not really dull. And as I said, with a 5th top scorers in the league, and on top of that, I think in the cups we've scored 2 in the FA Cup, 3 + 4 in the Vars. So, and we're talking about our lack of attacking finesse. Do you know? We're probably scoring more goals than.
Well, look at Cunnington, 3 goals.
I shouldn't have thought there's many Step 5 sides scoring more goals than us anywhere in the South East.
Yeah.
That's a guess, by the way. I don't understand. So, if it ain't effective, then I find it quite frustrating, because I'm always generally, I don't normally have sides that let goals in, but
I think you've got to be realistic. We conceded goals, it's come up because we get deeper and deeper and draw them onto a sort of thing. But actually, we conceded lots of goals. but there hasn't been a great, amazing one where they've ripped us apart. Most of the goals have been down to, I'm just having to say, individual errors, for want of a better word. You know, we've helped the opposition score. Is that been seems obvious?
Yeah, I just don't know if there's an answer, if I'm honest, because like, you know, the first goal's a throw-in. Well, we can't not sit deep on a throw-in on the edge of our 18-yard box, and the second's a counter-attack. So I don't actually think we were. But I hear you. Like, I cannot really give you a clean-cut answer at this moment in time.
It's not,
I can just say that we're still trying to build little relationships. We're still trying to build little patterns. As we start to improve, hopefully we'll have a bit more success that end and a bit more success that end, and then it'll start to level itself out, because I think everybody can see we're on the right track. We're just perhaps having a few bumps along the way.
I think you're right, because at the weekend you sit there and think, actually we could still play the same team we've got and we could get a result out of that. You're not thinking, God, here a shocker, here a shocker.
No.
You know, so
exactly.
You've got to just take their plan A and make it work till you can work out a plan B.
Yeah, fine margins, as you say. We perhaps got a little bit lucky on Saturday. Our perseverance paid off. Last night, our perseverance didn't pay off. Maybe a little bit more, like you said. Maybe we needed a toothpick rather than a sledgehammer. We're still learning. We're still trying to find out about each other, about opponents.
And in context, we lost our first four games last season.
Wow.
So, you know, that puts in some context. We are where we are because of the budget we've got and the level we're playing at, and you try to put it right.
I don't even like necessarily want to compare us to us last season, because that's unfair. But I even think if you look around the league, so Beerstead beat Snodland 2-0 last night.
Yeah.
Would you have predicted that based on what you've seen?
Russell beat VCD.
Russell beat VCD. It's really hard to know what's going to happen next, and I guess we're as inconsistent as the rest, truth be told.
But I think maybe that's why people are getting, a few fans getting a bit frustrated, because we realise or feel that if we can just be consistent, we could be challenging for the playoffs here. And it's like, we need to help ourselves.
I get that, you're right. The only thing I can ask back in return, look, all I can say to you guys, I will do everything in my power. Harps, Joffrey, Ad will do everything in their power. The boys, you know, we've got some good leaders now starting to step forward, some of our senior players. We will do everything we can control to try and improve our consistency. And all I can ask you in return is that you guys just remain consistently behind us and supporting us, because that helps. If we sense that you guys are starting to doubt us or have a little bit of disappointment, I get it. You pay your money, you have your opinion, but you know, try and help us rather than be another pressure on our shoulder.
But I think you've got that, because yes, there'll always be the odd one or two who will say that, but everybody's still wholeheartedly behind you.
Good.
You've got credit in the bank.
Good. Well, I want to build up more credit, and we want to start earning interest on our credit, and we want to take the club to some good places. But it's disappointing. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's disappointing, and you can't do anything about it now. I'm going to learn from it.
I think so. And like you say, and all we can say is, right, get all those guys you've just listed, firing on all four cylinders. You've got it.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. You're doing well.
We ain't far off, but it's a long way from Gravesend to try and convince yourself that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, cheers then.
No problem.
Thanks for being so honest.
No, likewise. Yeah. Cheers, Rob.